Hello, you shoppers. Welcome to Manifest Destiny. Hopefully, you've seen this image on your document already. If you haven't, please make sure that you pause the video right now and jot down the inferences that you see. What kind of judgments can you make about the idea of manifest destiny based on this image by John Gast? Okay, so I'm going to walk you through kind of the big pieces here, because there's a lot going on in this image. Important to note context, not a lot of people saw this image early on. It was actually made for a travel guidebook, but then later it's going to be reproduced. Today, it's really the most famous image coming out of America of this time period. So I've circled a few things here on this slide that I want to just show to you. So note that the West is portrayed as dark and foreboding. It's full of savagery, and that sort of thing. So she is coming through as this angel of light to bring progress to these savage lands. Note the use of light is pretty impressive here, that the East is the land of light and the West is the land of darkness. You see our Native Americans are fleeing from this quote unquote progress. There's some beasts here as well. This is probably a buffalo or bison. So this idea that these people that are moving west are going to be taming this wild land. Note that she's carrying a book. So this is telling us that we're bringing the common school west, higher literacy rates, more education. She's got the Star of Empire on her crown there. And this is the idea of, she's portrayed as this heavenly angel, and it's this duty of Americans to bring progress west. So this is probably the Mississippi River, and then you can just make out the Pacific Ocean there. And note these market revolution items. So she's unfurling telegraph lines as she goes. We've got transcontinental railroads, we've got steamboats, we've got stagecoaches, probably the Pony Express, these covered wagons, people on the Oregon Trail, farmers setting up these enclosures. So a lot going on in this image. So again, expect to see this on the AP test. So what is manifest destiny? This is a 19th century idea that Americans are so good at democracy and colonization, it is our duty to expand throughout the continent. It's definitely seen as an extension of American exceptionalism. So remember, that's our John Winthrop, City on a Hill. You'll see a longer portion of this quote later on when you do your document work, but the phrase is really coined by this columnist in New York. So that is John O'Sullivan. So that's the name that we associate with this particular fluency fact. So more on him a little bit later. So the term ends up being as kind of a derisive term. So as a way to ridicule this policy of territorial expansion. Northerners and Whigs think that this is coded language for expanding slavery, and they're not totally wrong. We're going to look more at that at our next lesson when we look at what's going on with Mexican territory and the Texas Revolution. So many people that favor the idea of manifest destiny think that it's totally failed, because the idea was to take the whole continent. So that includes Mexico and Canada. The term disappears relatively quickly, but then it's going to come back into the 1890s when we've got this more aggressive mood that's going on in America. We also have more people, think about the Teddy Roosevelts of the world, are going west. They're going into the Dakotas, into the Badlands, and that sort of thing. So pair manifest destiny with Monroe Doctrine, and you've got a very swaggering United States that is really making its power known. O'Sullivan's going to die in the 1890s, and most people don't really remember him for coining this phrase. So sad times for Mr. O'Sullivan. Now, the myth here is always that it's the intrepid young man who's going west and he's taming the wilderness. Again, a very Teddy Roosevelt kind of idea, but that's just not really how it usually went. The government is sponsoring a lot of this, of what's going on. We'll dig deeper into the Transcontinental Railroad in Unit 6. But the government is setting up subsidies there. So it's really paying for the railroad. So it's paying for the availability or the potential for these people to move west. They're going to be sending the army in to remove Native American groups. So without government's hand, this would be a lot more difficult. Lots of market revolution connections here, that if people are moving west, they're going to need ways to transport their goods to market. So again, all roads lead back to the market revolution. You have this at the end of your document, but just wanted to highlight this really quickly that usually when we have College Board's ideas on topics, they're very brief. But just note that that is not the case with this one. So there's a lot going on there. So definitely take a look at that at the end of your document if you have a chance. And just to note, just to kind of check in with our time and our map. So this is what we're looking like in 1830. So we've got Missouri in there as a result of the Compromise of 1820. And then fast forward here in 1872, our map looks a little bit more familiar to us now. So this is really a result of manifest destiny. And just note that there's a lot of different methods that we're going to be using for this. And again, we'll dig deeper into this in a later lesson. But just note that it's not all being done with war, that we have some negotiation and purchase that's going on to make this our sea to shining sea empire.